Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining in today. We are back on the KCS Greenville sub, and we are adding some of the final details on the tracks that head east into staging near Shreveport. So currently, this is a bit of a mock-up of the area around Jefferson. We are not going to necessarily model the town of Jefferson itself, although the KCS tracks, or rather CPKC now, those tracks do roll just east of downtown. I didn't want to necessarily model the town of Jefferson for two reasons. The biggest reason being I didn't really provide myself enough space for that because that's not the focus of this layout. But also two, because I kind of had some space constraints, I ended up having a bit of a different track arrangement than what I had originally planned in this area. And that even more so made it unreasonable for me to try to model Jefferson. So I more wanted to focus on the space and everything between the industries that were working on this part of the railroad. And so I wanted to make sure to include the trees because this part of East Texas is literally nothing but a massive forest of pine trees and cypress trees and a couple of other trees, but overwhelmingly pine trees. So as we go through this video here, we're mostly going to be focusing on getting those details out of the way. So definitely wanted to get the trees lined up so we can get obviously the biggest chunk of the details finished. If you focus on building up your trackside details and getting kind of the outlines of the big scenes done, it really gives you a huge feeling of completion, even though your scenes aren't really complete. As an example, you know, the trees that we have just now done so far in this episode really are fine, and I'm not really going to do too much more with them. But to be fair, if I didn't do any other details on any part of this layout over in this area, you know, for the most part, we would feel like this is mostly well done. And obviously it's not finished, and it definitely isn't even close to being finished even by the end of this episode. But the point is, you know, just by adding in a lot of the big picture details, like the linings on the backdrop and the trees that fill space and the fields, you really can give yourself this feeling that takes away a lot of the pressure or the stress of feeling like there's too much to do and not enough time to do it. So building routes over the years, I've definitely learned that if you will just get to work and just get some stuff on the table, you can really do yourself some big favors. I did want to add a creek in here. So this part of the CPKC line to Shreveport, between Jefferson and Shreveport, crosses the Cypress Bayou a bunch of times. I think I saw at least 3 times. And the Cypress Bayou is what feeds into Caddo Lake, which is the only natural lake in Texas. And so I wanted to have at least one area where I crossed over this. It kind of the same thing with modeling the downtown portion of Jefferson. I had a hard time having enough space for this. And so I had to just kind of pick an area where there's not actually a bridge. We don't have a bridge in a double track area over the bayou. It's mostly in the single track areas. But, you know, I had to make a compromise. Definitely wanted to get that bridge in there, get some water in there. And now you're going to see me place some bushes and shrubs and things in order to try to mostly hide the transition into the backdrop. And like I have done numerous times, even though it bothers me to the core, in a minute we're going to kind of adjust the edge of the table to match the scenery a little bit better. Although I will be honest, of all the times I've done that, this by far was the easiest round. For what it's worth, maybe I have gathered some valuable experience. We can at least call it that, if that helps us sleep more at night. So, but here I am working on getting all that done now. It definitely was far smoother than previously. Very grateful for that because I do not like the adjustments at the edge of the table there, but I do think that getting them done just adds a really nice touch. So if I were building an actual model railroad, which I absolutely will someday when I'm not a struggling millennial with a young career, you know, I definitely intend to have the edge of the table, you know, follow the contour of the land, so to speak. All right. So once we kind of get that done, we will start adding in some of the finer details with a few of the smaller industries on this part of the railroad. Keep in mind, this is the main line, so the industries that are being served are not very large, and as such, they can be served rather quickly. This is CPKC's main line from Shreveport to Dallas, and while it doesn't receive as much traffic as their main line east to Meridian or up north to Pittsburgh, Kansas, the truth is it does still receive several important trains each day. some that are even not necessarily scheduled, but are, daily trains that run every day out of their facility in Wiley. And so the industries on this part of the layout kind of represent the reality that they're not very big, they're easy to switch. You send out a way freight or a road switcher to switch them as they go down the main, and then you've got a siding that's long enough to get your train out of the way in case a dispatcher yells at you. So it works out pretty well. But this here is one of the 2 bulk terminals, and my intention with this is kind of a created industry. There is, or are rather, a few tracks kind of out in the middle of nowhere at different sides of town with nothing really going on, and so without any information, I decided to just kind of make them transload facilities, and I don't feel bad about that. But for that one, we've got, it's a bulk transfer, so mostly I'm going to model the transfer of plastics, like granular plastics. We can also do some of the lighter aggregates that are not metallic, used in the construction industry. And then if we want to, we can also ship a very, very small amount of food materials, grains, oats, barleys, things like that. Maybe we can also make it where we're shipping out just seeds, for example, as opposed to like finished product. Because obviously that kind of stuff usually goes to the larger elevator structures that have a lot more capacity and throughput. There's not really a lot of those actually out in East Texas because we don't really grow too many grain crops out in East Texas. Obviously we have a few, but most of the farming activity seems to be related to different animals or hay, maybe some sod here and there. And for the most part, that seems to be still the largest amount of agricultural products for this part, outside of timber, of course, if you count timber or logs as agriculture. In my opinion, that's more of a forestry product, but I'm not an expert in these classifications, so don't listen to me. This facility is a propane or LPG. You can call it either one or both if you want to. Facility for transferring those things. So I realized that I don't have any big propane tanks. So after this video, I'm definitely going to go on to the download station and see if I can find some bigger propane tanks that look nice. Definitely would like to have some. But that was that facility. So we'll be shipping, 60-foot long tank cars loaded with LPG because I love those things. And here we are back to another bulk transload. This is closer to Avenger. Now in the real world, this one, the track I'm kind of modeling here is actually near Jefferson, just on the other side of town. But because of space constraints, we had to make some changes. And I don't feel bad about that. It is what it is. But yeah, this is out near Avenger. We can do kind of the same thing as the other one. Granulars, plastics, some aggregate materials, and maybe some seeds or other farm products if we want to. So nothing too crazy. And we are going to fence this one up. Not that it actually is fenced in real life, but I just wanted to have something that was just a little bit different. I don't like things to be too repetitive. Even if I have a very similar industry modeled in 2 different places, I like to, occasionally create some ways to show some differentiation. So just went to sync the track there. I ran over to the branch to grab a nice texture that I realized and remembered that I liked. I realized I did too much of it, but it's all good. And then later on, I'll go back and, kind of sync the tracks and some of these other spurs. But now we are going to focus just briefly on this big, nasty industry. Still don't know what this one is. I really think with my gut that it's some kind of maintenance facility that works under contract. But I just don't know. They have a bunch of high cube box cars and tankers sitting out there. There's no major buildings outside of what looks like maybe a few small warehouses and some sheds, or maybe an office space. It's not like there's a factory or anything out there, so I'm just still really not sure what this is. But there's no name, but I'm calling this Northeast Texas Specialties. And we're going to treat it like it is a maintenance facility for rail cars, so we can ship some empty rail cars here. They will stay empty and then get shipped out empty, and we can treat this kind of like they just maintain some cars for us. So it'll definitely get a good amount of traffic, just of those box cars and tankers. But until I know more about it, I think that's kind of where I'm going to stick it for now and just kind of let it be. So to finish out the video, we're just going to throw in some of these details with the dirt and everything, just to kind of get some variability there in the sides, kind of play with the trees a bit, and then we're going to call it a day. So I'm not really sure where I want to go with the next video on the KCS Greenville sub. I'm still up in the air about if I want to actually film the creation of the staging yard or not. So we'll see. I'm not really sure. I might just film it and then decide if I want to publish it. But definitely stay tuned. I might do a build video. I might go ahead and set up an operations video for this next. I'm just not sure, but I'll be thinking about it. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's always good to have you on the channel. Thanks for being a part of the channel. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. Leave a comment if you have something to say or if you have a question. And if you feel obligated or led, please go ahead and subscribe. It really helps out. So thanks again, guys, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.